All right, let's go. Sex education. First graders. The two do not go together, Simon. Welcome. Episode 8. Dry Humpin. We Byke, baby. We are back. It's been a long time. I shouldn't have left you. My bad. We are here. Back to every week. We are doing this. So we're going to start the day with the Dalton School in New York City. It is a $55,000 a year private school for tuition, and they are under fire on conservative media more than anywhere else for showing a video to first graders talking about consent and touching themselves for pleasure, basically. One parent complained to the Post that I am spending $55,000 a year for this video to teach my child not to hug her grandfather when he sees her. And some parts of the video I think discuss again having children not have anyone touch them without their consent, which is something that we all should learn, but in a proper context. And I'm not sure if you can properly contextualize that for 7-year-olds, for first graders. I mean, of course, if someone is touching them inappropriately, they should go to their parents and their trusted circle with that information. But I also think there's something to be said for creating triggers in children that may not have been there without someone bringing that type of stuff up. Because when you start talking to children about being inappropriately touched sexually, unless that has happened to a child, they may not understand it. So when you start talking to them about that type of thing, someone wanting to hug them or pick them up or take them just for a family member touching them in any way could be misconstrued as something totally inappropriate when it's not. My 1-year-old nephew doesn't want to be picked up sometimes, but sometimes he's on the way towards a bottle of bleach, so you got to pick him up and take him away from it. You can't put him down and let him have his way because he doesn't want to be touched and picked up in that moment by that person. So there is conversation to be had there and nuances that we are going to have to be able to discuss. But I do feel like 7 years old in first grade is a little bit too soon to start having those types of conversations with children, especially in this situation where the parents were not even aware that this was being shown. They found out about it on the back end. And the other part of the video discussed, or the other part of the video that's under fire at least, discussed children touching themselves for pleasure. A little boy saying sometimes he touches his wee-wee and it gets bigger and harder. And a little girl saying sometimes she's laying in bed or in the tub or something, she touches her vulva, and it feels good. And yeah, I definitely think masturbation is not the subject to be broaching with first graders. Absolutely not. I'm a little old-fashioned. I feel like we should go back to having our sexual advice, our conversations about masturbation and stuff like that. Kids nowadays should have it the same way we had it when we were kids. We had those discussions with our older cousins and older people in the neighborhood. For me, it's a young man that is now known as the Reverend Charles Jones. Always known to me as Cousin Pooh. Pooh gave me some horrible sexual advice. Some good advice too. A lot of horrible sexual advice. But you know what? I took it, I learned from it, and I grew. And it was someone who I was comfortable talking to things about, who was in my circle of trust. Let's go back to normalizing that. We're becoming so detached from everything. Because now we do everything on devices and phones, I think we're starting to say that maybe that's the best way to have sexual conversations with our youth is through a device, through a video. No, those conversations should still be had with your older brother, your uncle, your cool ass uncle, your cool ass aunt, your older cousin, who you know is going to give you some advice because they, right or wrong, whether they know what they talking about or they don't know what they talking about, you trust their experience. Yeah, I just really, really, really feel like first grade children should not be being shown videos about masturbation and consent out of context without their parents being involved in that decision. And yeah, so from there we'll move on. The Dalton School in New York. Shame on you. We cannot have any discussion this week without talking about the young lady who's all over the news right now. And that's Namoi Osaka. Naomi Osaka, and I'm sure you know, left the French Open, left Roland Garros to decide because she decided she didn't want to do interviews or press conferences after her match, and not only did the French Open, but the other three majors came down pretty harshly and basically said if you continue this behavior, you could be suspended from all of the majors moving forward. And she decided to go home. Withdrew after her first round match. I'm not here to discuss that side of it as much as I want to discuss just the outdatedness of some of these things. I get that if you're an athlete, part of your obligation is to the media because the media covers you. But there has to be a way that we could move this into the 21st century and say, hey, into not even the 21st century, into 2021, because Lord knows we now have saw that we're able to do things in different situations that we never thought possible before the COVID situation. So whether it's Naomi, let's find a way to make you comfortable in this situation and let's work it out so we still give you access to the outside world and your inner thoughts post-match. Or if it's just a, hey, Naomi, we get it, take your time, and we'll talk, we'll break down and talk about your social media. If you could just give, it's 2021, give us something on your Instagram after the match. A lot of people say that the media needs these players to do press conferences so they can go have something to write about. There are plenty of people who report on people's social media posts, just like they did when Naomi Osaka posted on her social media that she would not be doing press conferences at the French Open. So there are ways to work around this, and that goes well beyond tennis and sports and just a lot of different things in society and in this country in particular, which is what I'm thinking about right now, that are just old and outdated that we should probably work past and get into a new way of thinking. But tradition and holding on to tradition will not allow us to do that. But this, for her mental health, going home is what she needs to do. I applaud her for it. Absolutely. Take your time. Do what you need to do for your mental health, and let's hope that everyone could be adults and find a solution that everyone can work with. But we do need to, I think this next generation coming up, these 20-something-year-olds now, I honestly think they're going to challenge the status quo when it comes to a lot of these outdated rules and traditions in different facets of life, whether it's sports, business, media, social media. They are showing us right now they're going to challenge the way that everything has been done. Y'all don't want to let us on Wall Street. We'll go make AMC and GameStop a big player for a few days. And I applaud her for it. I think the previous generations need to understand that you have to stop being it's our way or the highway, because social media and the internet has allowed people to go around your highways. Naomi Osaka never has to play another match, and she is an icon. And you guys need to realize that. You much rather have the icon on the court than off the court. We'll leave it at that. The other thing that caught my attention this week was I was sitting back and I was very curious about the Derrick Chauvin sentencing. And when was that coming down? Had I missed it? And when is it? So when is it going to be? I looked it up. I Googled it. June 25th is the date of the Derrick Chauvin sentencing. As soon as I saw the date, I immediately thought in my head, let me go check and see what day of the week that falls on. Unfortunately, it falls on a Friday. The reason I say that's unfortunate is, and this could be me completely speculating here, I always, anytime I see something that is prepared to be done on a Friday, my prepare for bullshit meter goes up. Because when you have something taking place on a Friday, that is a news dump day. That doesn't give the media a whole lot of time to peck at it. If it happens on a Monday or Tuesday, then we talk about it for the rest of the week. If it happens on a Friday, people are at home. Most of your journalists are enjoying the weekend. They get back to stuff on Monday. By Monday, you're in a totally different news cycle. Stuff that happened Friday doesn't matter as much. Obviously, the Derrick Chauvin sentencing is not going to completely fit in the umbrella of not mattering that much anymore. But if it happens on a Friday, by the time we get to Monday, it really has lost some steam. Hopefully, that does not mean we are preparing for a bullshit sentencing, something light for murdering someone on the side of the road in broad daylight. And hopefully it doesn't mean let's do this on a Friday, so if there are protests to it, they won't disturb the work week. People won't be out disturbing people going to and from work. Hopefully they aren't saying let's push this back until June 25th and let's hurry up in different states and try to push out different laws, making protesting almost illegal and making it almost legal in some states to run over protesters. So we're getting time to get these laws in place to prepare for the protest that will come after a bullshit light sentencing of Derrick Chauvin. Hopefully that is not the case, but pay attention. When I saw Friday, it made me nervous. It made me worry about it because I know how news cycles work. And we're going to end this on a good note. Shout out to Wilberforce University, a private HBCU in Ohio that I honestly did not know existed until about an hour ago. They have completely forgiven the debt of all of the 2020 and 2021 graduates to give them a fresh start going into their adult life, into the real world. And how dope is that? It is absolutely amazing that they're giving their graduates this. Coming from a private HBCU, shout out to you guys for that. We know what this is going to mean for plenty of young black graduates going out into the workforce. And it's amazing. I wish more universities would do it. I wish that there was some sort of way that we could start working towards. We want to start talking about giving young black people an advantage in this country. Let's start talking about forgiving student loan debt. That way, you know, not only are we investing in just young black people, which we should be investing in anyway because we keep saying we want to do right by black people in this country, but you're investing in young black people who are educated, who are ready to go and jump into the workforce and contribute at a high level. And you know that because based on the degree that they have. So shout out to Wilberforce University for doing this amazing stuff. And I'm going to leave it at that. I have a tea time in about 45 minutes. Exciting. Thank you guys for tuning in. As always, this has been therapeutic for me. So therapeutic. I can't believe that I did not record for this long, but I went home for for a week, hung out with family, came back, recalibrated, got mentally right, and I'm so happy to be back in front of this microphone. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being here with me. I will see you next week for episode 9. It has been real. I have been Sean. See you next week.